But finally, I was able to find my purpose when I started working at Shishin Samurai restaurant. What should I say? Despair for me at that timing, yeah. And a lot of people always say that Japan is a country, is a people who really doesn't like change, but that is not true. We need someone, and that is going to be us. That is going to be Team Let's Ask Shogo, and that is our dream. And then from there, number 3, I'm going to be turning into number 3 from here. I'm going to be moving a lot forward, the clock a lot forward into the future. From there, high school, I actually went to international high school together with Kazu. And then from there, in university, I actually majored in Chinese. So from Hiroshima, I moved out to Kyoto because that's where I was born. I have my family living here. And I was just really interested and curious about Kyoto my whole life, and I really wanted a time in my life where I lived there. Yeah, so I actually moved there for university and I majored in Chinese. And the reason why I majored in Chinese is simply because I really love studying languages. I did study a little bit of Spanish when I was in high school, and a little bit of Korean after graduating university and such, which I have not continued, so I'm not good at all. I hope to do in the future. But anyways, I was just really curious about China because we are neighbors, but there's a lot of problems that China and Japan have, right? Yeah, so I really wanted to know more about the people in China, and I thought the best way was to learn Chinese. Yeah, so that's what I did. And I was actually in Beijing for 1 year to study abroad, and that is exactly where I met Harumi, my wife. Yeah, and it was just simply an amazing experience for me. I think among all of the experiences I had in university, definitely the year in Beijing was the best. I can even say it was maybe the best year of my life almost. Yes, when I was younger. In my teens, in my earlier 20s, I would definitely say it was the best experience that I had. Yeah. So it was an amazing experience. And from there, I actually started working in a restaurant from there after graduating university. And why I started suddenly working in a restaurant, right? I studied languages and I studied Chinese culture. I was in an international communication course in high school and started running a restaurant. Like, how did that happen, right? So I've explained a little bit about the job hunting seasons in Japan, where it was a culture that started during the high economic growth in Japan during the 1970s, around there. Yes, it happened. Basically, there were so many young people. It was a baby boom at that time. There were so many young people. The companies couldn't just test each person and just, hire them. So they just had this big system where they would just hire a group of young people into their companies and raise them and train them together. Yeah. So this is how the job hunting season starts, but everyone just starts to wear all the black suits and dye their hair black and have the same makeup and have the same bags and everything. And you go to the interviews and take the interviews, and there's these proper answers that you have to say, which are in textbooks that are sold in bookstores. And I am a person who grew up in the US, and this is my personality, right? I was like, no, I am not going to be doing this. This is for me, it was way too scary, first of all. And I did take a few interviews, but it was all really, the interviewees would pressure me a lot to say certain things, not say certain things. And when I talked about my dream that I want to make as many people as happy as possible and make this world peaceful, which is still my dream, of course, the interviewees laughed at me when I said that, right? And I completely understand now turning 28 years old right now, having a 20-something-year-old boy earlier in their 20s and saying my dream is to make this world peaceful. I completely understand that it's something very, very difficult, right? Yeah, and it is really close to impossible, basically. Yeah, and I completely understand that. But would you laugh at that person? Would you laugh at a young boy who has a dream to make this world peaceful? I wouldn't. So I was completely disappointed with the whole system itself, and I said, no, I'm not going to be doing this. This is not the way I'm going to be finding a job. And then what happened is that at that timing, I was actually working at a restaurant called Shishin Samurai Restaurant, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore due to COVID. It had to close down and such. But it was a restaurant where they served samurai food. It was the kind of food that the samurai used to eat. Yeah, used to eat. So it could be like, for example, something that Tokugawa Ieyasu liked to eat, or something that Oda Nobunaga used to eat or liked to eat, Date Masamune, and so on and so forth. Yeah, we serve these kind of foods. And the reason why I was working there as a part-time worker is because I really, really admired the owner there. Yeah, he actually studied peace studies in the UK, came back to Japan. He studied a lot of how Bushido was, what should I say, linked to a peaceful mind of the samurai, studied about Zen philosophy, studied about health and everything, and I just really admired him a lot, and he's still a really, really good friend. He, of course, after he quitted the restaurant, he's now not in Kyoto anymore, but we still keep in touch, yes. He's a very, very wonderful person, yeah, and I still respect him a lot. But because I told him I'm going to be quitting job hunting, and one day he asked me, then Shogo, would you like to run my restaurant? Yeah, and I was like, this is what I was waiting for. Yeah, and that's exactly the reason why I started working there. Yeah, and this was the amazing occasion for me to finally realize how interesting Japanese culture and history was. Now again, rewind back to when I came back to Japan from the US. Again, I had a terrible experience, right, in Japan. Yeah, when I came back to Japan from the US, I was bullied. I had a very terrible experience. So for a long time, I just was afraid of studying anything, learning anything about Japan in general. I kind of had like trauma, right? Yeah. So even in high school, I took history class, but not Japan, but the world history. And I kind of avoided studying about Japan in general. But because now I have a job, I'm responsible for running a restaurant, and there will be a lot of guests coming to the restaurant asking me, like, okay, so why did Oda Nobunaga like this food? Okay, why did Tokugawa Ieyasu choose these ingredients? I would need to answer them. Did I need to know who these people are? I only knew the names of these warlords at that point. Yeah, I did not know anything about history. I didn't even memorize the time periods at that time. I was like, Sengoku War period? Oh yeah, I've heard that a lot of samurais, clanking swords or something. That was the amount of information I had at that point. Yeah, but because I had to study for my job, that's exactly what I did. Yeah. So once I started reading books and just asking people about who are really good at history and asking them questions about learning culture, starting training in Iaido, I was like, what have I been doing in my life? This is so much fun and so interesting, and because I was lucky enough to grow up in the US, I have these skills of English, even though it's not that perfect, I still have an advantage of being to explain these things to the world. I was finally able to find, I lost my best friend, right? And I had this passion, this mission within me that I had to achieve something big, yeah. And I'm enjoying my route, by the way. I'm enjoying my journey there, but I also had this mission inside me. But for a long time, I didn't know what I should do. Now, I wasn't good at something really specifically. I could speak Chinese, but you're able to speak one language, so what, right? Something else is needed in order to utilize that language, right? But I didn't have anything at that time. But finally, I was able to find my purpose when I started working at Shishin Samurai Restaurant. However, eventually I would soon realize that a restaurant is not a place where I can just stand there and continue talking to people about the culture and history, right? It's a food place, right? So you eat food there. So after 10 months of working at Shishin Samurai Restaurant, I thought, okay, maybe it's about time I need to change my job and to do something that I love even more, because I was able to find my purpose. And that's the reason why I started working at Kyoto Samurai Experience for about a year and a half from there as a full-time worker, yes. So I run the Experience Kyoto Samurai Experience. By the way, Kazu, Tomoko, and I went there as a Kyoto Hidden Gem series video, so I hope you can check it out, by the way, if you haven't watched it yet. It's a really amazing experience where you get to swing a real sword and also train in Zen meditation. It's about 90 minutes to 2 hours experience, but the building there is really beautiful too. But anyways, I was privileged to work there. Because it's a cultural experience, I was free to talk about any culture I loved to. The more I talk, the more I made the customers and the visitors happier, right? Yeah, so it was a dream job for me, and it was a really, really amazing job for me. It was gave me so many beautiful experiences with people saying that, oh my gosh, you changed my life. This is the best experience I've ever had in Japan, and so on and so forth. And it was a really, really amazing journey there too. And after though we achieved on TripAdvisor, there was this category called cultural activities and workshops, I think it was. Yeah. And we won #1 in Kyoto and #3 in whole Japan. Out of all the activities, we won #3. Yeah. And from there I thought, maybe it's about time I challenge something new. So that's the reason why I changed my job again to work at a tea ceremony experience, which is Tea Ceremony Camellia, which again, we also, Kaza and I also went in the Kyoto and Japan series too, as you can see, yeah. So I started working in the tea ceremony experience too, but at that point, I'm really, really sorry to the people who worked with me at that time, but I actually quit Tea Ceremony Camellia just 8 months after I started working, yep. And that is because inside my heart, there was a voice that was constantly telling me, Shogo, you want to do something bigger, don't you? Yeah. And I thought that I could do something bigger if I changed my jobs constantly. But there was this fire inside my heart that just kept telling me that, Shogo, you need to challenge yourself even more. And that is exactly the reason why I started my own business in 2022, January 2022. But guys, if you remember when that was, what timing that was, exactly, it was COVID-19. The pandemic started exactly the timing we started that business, actually, yeah. So it was originally going to be a place where, in a small room, and so it was a tatami room that only had about 10 tatami mats. It was supposed to be a private Japanese music show. Yeah, so I will be hiring some of the musicians. They'll be coming to play the shakuhachi, the flute, which I'm training right now. They could play the koto, they could play the shamisen, and the guests will get to enjoy a completely private show, just with their family, with the couples, And the way that you enjoy Japanese music in the past was exactly like that. You have a tatami room, you sit down, enjoy in a small room, small groups of people. Yeah. Right now, you have the big stages for no theater too. I've mentioned in a past video. There's huge stages now, yeah, to enjoy it. But in the past, it was supposed to be a small place. And Japanese people really like small things, right? The details and such. Yeah, so that was the original way we enjoyed culture. But nowadays, there's hardly any place where you can enjoy it that way. So we wanted to create such a place. But we had to close down the business in 2 months. Now, I actually invested about a few million yen that I have saved throughout my whole life. Growing up, you have your parents giving you some money, your grandparents giving you some, your relatives, giving you some allowances once in a while. I saved all that money throughout my whole life. Someday I thought I might be able to use this money, yeah, for something bigger. Yeah, so I saved money, I had a few million yen, in my bank account, and I used everything for that business that closed down in 2 months. Yeah. And of course, we had no customers during the 2 months because COVID already came at that point. And no one, of course, including you probably too, ever expected that this pandemic will last so long, right? We thought it would be ending in a few months. Maybe if we bear a few more months, we'll be able to go back to normal, right? But that never happened. But right now, looking back at it now, I thought my decision of quitting within 2 months was a really good idea. Because if I hadn't, I might have rented money and actually had even more a big debt, right? Yeah, but I did not create that. Once my savings went to zero, I said, we're quitting. We have to quit. We have to make change. Otherwise, we're all going to die together. Yeah. But I lost all of the money that I saved all throughout my life. I had no job because I worked in the tourism industry for 4 years. I had no other skill than to talk about Japanese culture and history and, work in a facility where you provide these kind of hospitality and such. So, looking for jobs on the internet, they were all about computers and IT, These people are still busy, but all the other jobs were like completely gone, off the list from finding jobs. So I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to be doing? Yeah. And then finally, YouTube's going to be starting soon. So first, I could not find a new job anymore. Yeah. And then personally, probably would have not been able to go back to a regular company from there because I really am a rather independent person who wants to have his own business, right? So I picked up my computer and I said, okay, I have to do something that I can earn money with this just one computer I have right now in my hands. Yeah. And that's exactly the reason why I first started from doing web writing, actually. Yeah, so I would write articles for companies who have blogs, but don't want to write their blogs on their own. So they ask the writers to write it for them. Yeah, so you can be stronger in SEO and such. Yeah. So I was doing that for a while. And in the beginning, by the way, I was only able to earn about a few $100s, even though I was working every single day. For 12 hours to 15 hours, I was only able to earn about, I think the first month it was less than $100, actually. Because anyone can do writing in the beginning, right? Just you have to write a sentence and paragraph and that's it. So you hardly get any money from that, yeah. So the first few months was just a few dollars. Of course, I had a family at that time. Harumi is here, Hinata was already born. Harumi was actually pregnant with our second daughter, Nagi, at that timing. So it was completely on, what should I say, despair for me at that timing, yeah. But eventually, as I continued web writing and I gradually started to earn more money, at that point, my heart was starting to die. Remember, guys, I'm the kind of person that needs to continue doing what I love, right? So I was like, I wasn't talking to anyone anymore. I was inside the house on my own, completely quiet, and in front of my computer. I'm not that kind of person. I love to talk, especially I love talking when I'm talking English because, again, when I speak in Japanese, there are some things that I have to be careful about with all the Japanese culture and such, all the honne tatemae and all those things that I really don't like, When I'm speaking in English, I get to be myself a lot more, yeah. But for a few months, I was completely isolated, from my true self, yeah. And I was starting to get sick from it, yeah. That's exactly the reason why I first started YouTube. I wanted to pursue what I love, and in this situation with the pandemic, that was the only option I had to connect to the world. And that's exactly the reason why I started YouTube, yeah. But again, to be honest, even though I've been saying that I'm a very passionate person and I like challenging things, I was definitely a completely different person before I started YouTube and everything, before the pandemic, because the pandemic really forced me to do new things. Because before that, to be honest, I was like a computer, oh yeah, thank you so much. I'll have someone else do the job for me kind of person. I couldn't even search things on the internet. I was that kind of person, And Harumi has been a web designer for a long time. So whenever I need to look up something on the internet, I would ask her to do it for me. Just doing some research on the internet, right? But this pandemic actually gave me occasion to completely break, my barriers that I had, all the shells that I just put out over myself, by myself, yeah. I just ripped through all of that, yeah. And I finally was able to feel that, oh, I can do the things that I've never challenged before. I am much more than I imagined inside my head. I can succeed if I keep on challenging myself. So this pandemic was actually a really, really big impact on me. I'm pretty sure it was a very, very big impact positively for many of you too. Yes, not just negatively, yeah. So anyways, I started YouTube in 2020, it was July. Yes, July 10th, I believe it was. Yes, and as you guys know, we've been explaining many times in our live streams, from there, just about 6 months later, until the 6 months, we only had 5 or never even 10 subscribers a day, actually, yeah. But on December of 2020, we were actually suddenly able to achieve 1,000 subscribers, and in January, just a few weeks after that, we already had 10,000 subscribers, and 3 months after that, we already had 100,000, and of course, we have 1 million now. Yeah, in 2022, April, we were able to achieve 1 million subscribers. So it was all thanks to you guys, and everything just boosted from there. And now I'm not doing any web writing anymore because it wasn't something that I really loved. I could do it now if I wanted to, but it's not something that I really love doing. So right now I am doing only YouTube actually. But of course, again, as I explained in my previous videos, we will be challenging new things from now on. So I hope you can look forward to that. Yep. So about the dream that I always talk about, right? But whenever I talk in my YouTube videos, my podcast videos, I always talk about that I really want to make all Japan lovers' dreams come true. Yeah. So this is the biggest dream I have right now. But this was not the dream that I've had throughout my whole life, or not even once I started working at the Shishin Samurai restaurant. It is something that I finally was able to find. I have, with 300% confidence, that this will be my life goal forever until the day I die. But the reason why I was able to find this was because I started YouTube too. Yeah. So before that, when I started working in the tourism industry, the dream that I had was to spread Japanese culture to the world. To try to expand it more to the world, because Japanese culture is very fun and wonderful. Yeah. And because I was busy working in the tourism industry in the past, I was basically able to trick myself into believing that was actually my dream and my goal. Yeah. But COVID and the pandemic gave me a little bit of occasions to think back on myself, reflect on myself, look back at the things that I really loved doing. And thinking of it now, spreading Japanese culture to the world, from my personality, it really didn't feel that comfortable, to be honest. And the reason why is because that doesn't really sound humble, right? Because from my point of view, I believe that every culture around the world is beautiful and should be preserved. Yeah, it's not just Japanese culture. And actually training in Iaido, tea ceremony, no theater and such, I see all the flaws and negative aspects of the industry, of the field as well, right? All the things I talked about, like I hate Iaido in these videos and such, there are a lot of bad parts about Japanese culture too. Yeah. So saying I want to spread Japanese culture, that's just really sounded vulgar to me from my point of view. Yeah. But that still did not stop me from my love towards Japanese culture, because I knew that there's a lot of people outside of Japan studying Japanese or willing to come to Japan to study and travel and work or train in our traditional culture. I've met a lot of people. I exchanged DMs through Instagram. A lot of people have been telling me, Shogo, I love your videos. I want to do this in the future. I want to go here in the future and such. Yeah, but looking at the current situation of Japan, as you see in a lot of my videos, you are going to be falling off a cliff soon. Japan is going to be falling off a cliff soon if you go straight this way. Because all the social problems I mentioned in my previous videos, someone needs to do something about this. Otherwise, there's going to be a day in the future where a child says, looking at a manga, looking at a movie, and the child will be saying, oh, mom and dad, this place looks really cool. Or that sword, what is that guy using? That looks really cool. Or the tea ceremony, whatever it is, it could be a stage art. And they tell their parents, I really want to go there, and I want to train in that too. And eventually their parents will have to tell them, yeah, I really loved it too. But son, daughter, child, I'm really sorry, but Japan just simply doesn't exist anymore. No one carried on the culture. No Japanese person carried on the culture. It's completely gone. It died out right now. The economy collapsed. The society ended. Social problems overwhelmed all the young people there. They killed themselves. And there is no Japan that we dreamed of in the past. Yeah. That day will come if someone doesn't do something. Yes. And a lot of people always say that Japan is a country, is a people who really doesn't like change, but that is not true. Every time Japan made improvements in history, it was when they made change. All the people that we say are heroes today, take, for example, Sakamoto Ryoma, it could be Saigo Takamori, it could be Oda Nobunaga going a little bit back, or it could be Oda Nobunaga, it could be Sen no Riki who created tea ceremony today, it could be anyone, all the heroes that we respect today. Weren't they people that made change in Japan? Weren't they the people who took the courage to make revolutions to make Japan a better place for future generations? Weren't those people, those kind of people, right? But today, because of the aging society, there's so many people who are reluctant to change, who just wants to stay the same, stay quiet, not make any troubles, because if we start conversations, there will be a conflict, and no one wants a conflict, to just stay quiet without saying anything and just watching Japan collapse. Someone needs to do something. We need a modern, whoever it is. It could be again anyone. It could be Shinsengumi, or it could be the 47 Ronin. I don't know who it is, yeah. But we need someone to change Japan today. Today, we need that hero. We need someone to be in future textbooks that change Japan, that save Japan. And now, thanks to this person, this team, this group, we still have Japanese culture. And in Japan, a country that we can visit to and enjoy the nature, enjoy the culture, enjoy the history, we need someone. And that is going to be us. That is going to be Team Let's Ask Shogo, and that is our dream. And this is exactly something that I can pursue throughout my whole life, and I'm enjoying every single moment, every single second in my life right now. And it's just all really, really thanks to you. If no one supported us, we wouldn't be able to talk like this in front of the camera and have you listening to this. And I'm just really, really thankful. And I'm always very energetic. Some people worry about me. Shogo, are you getting enough sleep? Or you should take a break sometimes. But I don't need any breaks. I don't need any rest because I'm not tired at all. Because I'm just simply loving the things that I do every single day. And again, it's all thanks to you guys supporting me that I'm capable of pursuing my dream is because I have all of your support. And everyone, thank you so much for listening to such a long story of my life. I think I'd like to end here. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. And again, this is our first video of filming this Shogo's classroom style video. Please let me know in the comments. Please let us know in the comments all about all of your things that you think we should change. It could be the screen itself, the ratio of the screen, or it could be the content, how I talk, anything. Please let me know in the comments. We are really, really looking forward to improving this new video series as well. And anything in general, please let me know about your own life too. If you can relate to something that I have experienced or something that you experienced completely different, anything is fine. It'd be great if you can share your thoughts and experiences in the comments too. Okay? So everyone, thank you so much for watching today's video too. I was a little bit nervous, but I'm really glad I was able to finish this. Okay? So everyone, 皆さんありがとうございました。Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye.